The council chamber of the Galactic Concord hummed with an almost sacred quiet. Billions of eyes, faceless across light years, focused on the transparent central dome where the voice of the universe often whispered decisions that shaped civilizations. Outside, supernovae cast crimson light through the curvature of space, painting everything in the faint glow of eternity. Inside, a sense of suspense thickened the air, heavier than the vacuum beyond. Humanity had always been small in the galaxy, insignificant even, to most. The planets of Earth's system had been observed, recorded, and dismissed as quaint experiments in chaos. But tonight, the Council would decide humanity's fate. Not as a curiosity, but as a potential asset. Or liability. Admiral Jackson Cole stood rigid in the observation gallery, the polished steel of his uniform catching the soft blue light of the chamber. Behind him, Lieutenant Commander Sarah Mitchell shifted uneasily. Both had been handpicked by the UN Space Command for a singular purpose: to defend humanity's voice in the galaxy's most perilous debate. Yet neither could shake the gnawing fear that even their presence might not sway the Council. "They don't see us as people," Jackson whispered, his voice low, almost swallowed by the silence. "They see us as resources." Sarah's eyes, dark and alert, scanned the endless ranks of alien delegates. "If we survive this vote, they'll never forgive us for resisting. And if we fail," her words trailed off, swallowed by the enormity of the chamber. The Speaker of the Council, a luminous being known only as Aerith, glided forward. Its form shimmered like molten crystal, constantly refracting into 1,000 perspectives at once. Representatives of humanity, Aerith's voice resonated in unison across hundreds of species' languages, each tone subtle yet commanding. "You are not here to plead for mercy. You are here to demonstrate worthiness. And tonight, the galaxy shall decide: shall humanity remain sovereign, or shall it be subsumed, harvested, and enslaved?" The words hit the gallery like a shockwave. Jackson's hand clenched the railing. Behind the translucent wall, Sarah's jaw tightened. Enslavement. The word was stark, brutal, and terrifying. Yet it was no empty threat. The Council had enforced such judgments before, an entire species had vanished under its decree. A mechanical chime reverberated through the chamber. Voting pods lowered into position, each an intricate lattice of crystal and light. The delegates would cast their votes, not with words, but with the pure intent of their collective consciousness, a procedure older than humanity's sun itself. Jackson turned to Sarah. "There's a chance," he murmured. "A chance they could see we're more than commodities. But it's slim. And the moment they vote against us, the fleets," his voice caught. He didn't finish. Sarah placed a hand on his arm. "Then we fight. We survive. One way or another." The first vote blinked into the chamber's core, a prismatic pulse from the Zytherian delegate, followed by the icy shimmer of the Varnokians. Each pulse carried the weight of civilizations. Some were fast, some deliberate. Some carried malice, some indifference. Humanity waited, fragile against the weight of countless civilizations that had already judged them inadequate. Then, a rumble. Not from the chamber, but from the void beyond. Jackson's gaze snapped to the viewport. A fleet of ships, massive and impossibly advanced, appeared in orbit around the Council station, hundreds of kilometers in length, bristling with weaponry humanity had only theorized in its most paranoid simulations. "They can't," Sarah muttered. "They wouldn't." But they had. The fleet bore the insignia of the Zoreth Dominion, the galaxy's most feared aggressors, infamous for preemptive strikes and exterminations. Their arrival was not an accident. The Dominion had been lobbying for humanity's subjugation for decades, and now they had arrived to ensure the vote went in their favor. Aerith's form trembled ever so slightly, its voice no less calm. "The vote proceeds. Interference will not be tolerated." But Jackson knew better. The Dominion's presence was intimidation incarnate. It was a declaration: the Council could vote freely, or they could vote and survive the aftermath. The pods began to pulse faster now. Votes materialized like liquid light, streaming into the central core. Humanity had no allies here, not yet. And every second stretched into eternity. Then, a voice crackled into Jackson's calm: "Captain Lucas Brenner, commanding the UNS Horizon stationed at Earth's orbit. Admiral Cole, the Dominion fleet is moving. Weapons are powering up. They're not here to watch. They're here to dictate. Jackson swallowed. Understood. Hold position. Do not engage until, his words faltered. The Council was watching. Any act of aggression from a human ship now would be seen as justification for annihilation. The voting slowed. One by one, species cast their judgments. And one by one, humanity's fear mounted. Then, from the smallest delegation, the Clerians, a delicate, insectal species known for their pacifism, a pulse of deep, resonant light emerged. Unlike others, it didn't blink with apathy or dominance. It was hope. Recognition. Respect. Sarah leaned close. That's it. That's a start. Jackson nodded, swallowing a lump in his throat. If even one species believes in us. But hope is fragile, and the chamber was anything but forgiving. The next pulses were harsher, colder. Votes weighed like steel. Humanity was losing. Every second, the likelihood of survival dwindled. And then, the unimaginable happened. The votes that had been cast in favor of subjugation, led by the Dominion, began to flicker. A cascade of interference, subtle but unmistakable, began to override the predetermined outcome. Jackson's eyes widened. Is that sabotage? Sarah's hand flew to her calm no. It's not sabotage. It's rebellion. Across the galaxy, hidden civilizations were rising. Species that had once stayed silent were now throwing their influence into the chamber's core, defying the Dominion's terror. Their reason was simple yet profound: they had seen humanity fight, seen Earth's resilience, and decided that no species deserved to be enslaved. The chamber trembled, not from explosions, but from the sheer weight of unity. The vote, once almost entirely against humanity, now began to shift. One by one, pulses of light, each representing thousands of worlds, aligned in favor of preservation. Jackson gripped the railing, his knuckles white. They're protecting us. They see what we are, Sarah whispered. They see what we could be. The Dominion fleet responded instantly, opening fire on the Council station in a desperate bid to halt the vote. Beams of concentrated energy struck the hull, detonating outer layers in a blinding cascade. Alarms screamed, warning lights danced, and the Council's crystal dome quivered. But the station endured. The vote continued. And then, the final pulse, a collective, resonant surge of every species standing against the Dominion, surged into the core. The chamber was filled with light so bright, so pure, that it seemed to carve the darkness of space itself. Humanity had not only survived. Humanity had been vindicated. Admiral Jackson Cole fell to his knees, overwhelmed by the magnitude of the moment. Sarah placed a hand on his shoulder, equally stunned. They had come to plead for their survival and had instead ignited a galaxy-wide alliance, one that no tyranny could easily extinguish. Aretha's voice, calm and infinite, echoed across the chamber. The Council has spoken. Humanity shall remain sovereign. Any attempt to enslave this species will be met with the collective will of the galaxy. Outside the station, the Dominion fleet recoiled, shattered not just by firepower but by the unimaginable realization that no single empire could dominate the universe alone. Across light years, civilizations whispered in awe and fear. Earth had become a symbol, and humanity, once insignificant, was now the galaxy's guardian. Jackson looked at Sarah, his voice barely above a whisper. We survived, but this isn't the end. This is only the beginning. And somewhere, in the silent, infinite void, a new legend began, a legend of a species that had been on the brink of slavery, and had become the hope of the galaxy. The aftermath of the vote left the galaxy trembling. Across every star system, whispers of Earth's survival spread like wildfire. Some spoke in awe, others in fear. To the Dominion, humanity was no longer a pawn. It was a spark, a symbol of defiance. Admiral Jackson Cole stood on the bridge of the UNS Horizon, watching Earth spin below like a jewel in darkness. The victory had been more than survival, it was proof that even the smallest species could inspire unity against tyranny. Yet, the taste of triumph was bitter, tempered by the looming threat of revenge. Sarah Mitchell, now standing beside him, broke the silence.
They won't forgive us, Jackson. The Dominion won't just let this go. Jackson didn't respond immediately.
His eyes traced the orbiting shadows of the Dominion's shattered fleet, fragments drifting like menacing ghosts.
I know, he said finally. And they're smart. They won't attack openly again. Not yet.
They'll strike where we least expect it. The UNS Horizon's calm system crackled to life. Captain Lucas Brenner's voice cut through, tense but controlled.
Admiral, reports from the Council indicate multiple species are pledging defensive alliances with Earth. The vote's result triggered more than protection, it's igniting interstellar loyalty.
Jackson let out a slow breath, relief mingling with determination.
We've won allies, but allies alone won't keep us safe.
We need to be ready: fleets, fortifications, strategy. If the Dominion comes, they'll come hard. Across the command deck, screens flickered with data from distant star systems.
Systems that had once ignored humanity now offered technology, resources, and fleets.
Ships bristling with energy weapons, plasma cannons, and shields beyond anything Earth had ever seen began to pour into orbit.
Sarah leaned over a console, scanning schematics.
We're getting support from the Arvanians, the Clerians, even the Zorix clans. Entire civilizations are offering ships, crews, and combat strategies. They trust us now, or at least, they trust in what we represent.
Jackson's eyes hardened.
Then we make them trust us fully.
We show the galaxy that Earth isn't just surviving, we can lead.
But leadership came with a cost. Even as allies rallied, Earth's political leaders faced mounting internal pressure. Nations that had never invested in space defense now demanded control over interstellar strategy. Governments argued over command, jurisdiction, and resources, the same old human divisions threatening to undermine a fragile coalition just as it began to form. President Rachel Monroe, speaking from the United Nations headquarters via secure relay, addressed Jackson and his officers.
Admiral Cole, humanity's survival is unprecedented. But I won't sugarcoat it, we're a target now.
Every decision you make could spark war, and every misstep could cost millions. I'm counting on you to unite not only our allies but humanity itself.
Jackson's jaw tightened. Understood, ma'am. We've faced extinction before.
This is just a larger battlefield.
Days turned into weeks.
Earth became the epicenter of galactic attention, a beacon for those seeking refuge and a warning to those who desired conquest. Fleets from dozens of allied species anchored in orbit, creating a massive defensive ring around the planet. Training simulations, joint drills, and strategy meetings became a relentless rhythm. But the Dominion did not remain idle. From the depths of uncharted space, their shadow fleets moved in silence, avoiding detection while infiltrating supply lines, communications, and trade routes. Their intent was clear: destabilize Earth's defenses, fracture alliances, and strike decisively when the galaxy's attention was elsewhere.
On board the Horizon, Intelligence Officer Lieutenant Maria Chen scanned intercepted transmissions. Her face paled. Admiral, the Dominion is coordinating something massive. Not a strike fleet, yet. They're targeting our allies. Communications, supply convoys, key commanders. It's a shadow war.
They want us distracted.
Jackson's eyes narrowed. Then we give them a distraction they won't forget.
He turned to Sarah. Prepare the Vanguard Division.
We hit their operations before they hit ours.
We need to show the galaxy that Earth doesn't wait for threats, we define the battlefield.
Sarah's hands moved over the console with precision. We can't hit every shadow fleet at once.
But if we strike the command hubs, if we cripple their coordination, she let the thought trail off.
That's exactly what we do, Jackson finished. We show the Dominion that humanity is no easy prey.
And we remind our allies why they pledged themselves to us.
The first operation was surgical yet devastating.
Using combined intelligence from allied species, the Horizon and its task force targeted Dominion command outposts hidden in asteroid clusters along the Orion sector. Plasma barrages lit the void, tearing ships from their moorings,
detonating energy cores in silent, cold fury. By the time the Dominion realized what had happened, their coordination had collapsed, their fleets scattered, and their morale shattered. Across Earth and allied worlds, news of the strike ignited hope and pride. Jackson's strategic genius became a symbol of humanity's ingenuity, while Sarah's leadership in coordinating multi-species operations earned her recognition as a tactical prodigy. Yet, amid triumph, cracks began to appear. Not all allies were content to follow human leadership unquestioningly. Cultural misunderstandings, old rivalries, and differing military doctrines sparked tension in joint command meetings. One mistake, one misinterpreted order, could undo weeks of trust building. Jackson felt the weight of it all pressing down. Humanity was no longer just defending itself, it was becoming the galaxy's fulcrum. One wrong move, and the vote that had preserved them could become a catalyst for their annihilation. And then, a new variable emerged. Deep space scanners detected a fleet unlike any seen before. Not Dominion, not known allies, something ancient, massive, and unfathomably powerful. It moved through the galaxy with intent, targeting systems strategically, yet seemingly indifferent to the Dominion's presence. Lieutenant Chen reported, voice trembling. "Admiral, we don't recognize this technology. It's older than anything in our records, and it's moving directly toward Earth." Jackson stared at the holographic display, a swirling armada of ships unlike anything designed by any known civilization. He felt the first real chill since the Council vote. Humanity had survived one vote of judgment, repelled one empire, but now the galaxy itself seemed to be holding its breath, as if testing Earth for something greater. Sarah placed a hand on his arm. "Whatever this is, we'll face it together." Jackson nodded, eyes scanning the stars. "This is the test of all tests. The galaxy may have saved us once, but survival is only earned. And right now, we fight not just for humanity, but for every species that chose to stand with us." As Earth's fleets readied for the unknown, Jackson realized the truth: survival was no longer about defending a planet. It was about leading a galaxy, inspiring courage in allies, striking fear into tyrants, and preparing for an enemy whose scale and power could dwarf even the most ambitious imaginations. For the first time, humanity wasn't small. It was a cornerstone. A symbol. And in the void beyond, where stars burned and fleets waited in silence, the galaxy watched. And humanity would rise. The void before Earth was alive with light and shadow. Fleets from every allied species formed a massive arc of defense, their ships bristling with weapons that gleamed like constellations. The Dominion fleets, battered but not broken, lurked at the edges, waiting for a weakness. And beyond them, a presence older than the stars themselves began to emerge, an armada so vast and alien that even the Council's most experienced delegates had no frame of reference. Admiral Jackson Cole stood on the bridge of the UNS Horizon, the weight of humanity and countless allied civilizations pressing down on him. He could feel it in every vibration of the hull, every flicker of the bridge's lighting. The moment of reckoning had arrived. Sarah Mitchell approached, her expression a mixture of determination and resolve. "Admiral, the fleets are ready. The Dominion is poised to strike, but this, whatever this is, it's coming faster than predicted." Jackson nodded. "Then we don't wait. We lead. Earth isn't just defending itself anymore, it's the heart of every species that believes in freedom. We fight not just to survive, but to show the galaxy what we are capable of." The alien armada emerged from the darkness like a wave of living metal and light. Its ships twisted and turned, shapes that defy geometry, energy pulsing along forms that seemed to exist in more dimensions than the human eye could perceive. The Council had called them the Eternals, a race that had remained hidden for millennia, testing civilizations across the galaxy. Their arrival was a judgment, and humanity was at the center. Captain Lucas Brenner's voice came over the calm admiral: "The Dominion is preparing to retreat. But the Eternals, they don't recognize anyone. They're attacking indiscriminately." Jackson gritted his teeth. "Then we protect everyone. Sarah, coordinate with allied fleets. We draw the Dominion and Eternals into a single engagement. Precision strikes, combined maneuvers, everything we have." The battle began not with a roar, but with a pulse.
Energy beams lanced across the void, colliding in eruptions that turned darkness into blinding light. The Dominion retaliated, desperate to exploit confusion. Yet humanity and its allies moved with unprecedented coordination, anticipating attacks, countering them, and rescuing ships caught in the crossfire. Jackson's voice rang across the bridge. Target the Eternals' command nexus. If we can disrupt their coordination, we have a chance to survive. Lieutenant Maria Chen's fingers danced across the console, plotting trajectories, calculating firing solutions. Nexus in range, Admiral. We can strike, but it will take every ship, every weapon, every crew. Then we do it, Jackson said, his eyes blazing. All in. No hesitation. The UNS Horizon led the charge, breaking through the chaos with a squadron of elite Allied vessels. Plasma beams lanced through the Eternals' defenses, followed by coordinated missile barrages. The alien ships twisted and reformed, seemingly reacting faster than any known technology, but Earth's fleet held, trading blows that echoed across the void. Meanwhile, Sarah coordinated flanking maneuvers, guiding Allied forces to protect vulnerable systems and intercept Dominion reinforcements. Her calm authority held the coalition together, turning fear into precision and chaos into strategy. Jackson could feel the moment the Nexus was vulnerable. Prepare the Horizon's main cannons. Charge the quantum disruptor. This is it. The massive weapons roared to life, energy pulsing through the hull like the heartbeat of a war god. Beams of pure light struck the Eternals' command nexus, shattering it in a crescendo of explosions that sent shockwaves through the surrounding fleet. The alien ships faltered, their coordination collapsing. At that moment, the Dominions saw their opportunity. Their forces surged forward, intending to crush the fractured defenders. But the galaxy had learned its lesson. Allied fleets, once disparate and uncoordinated, moved as one. Every human, alien, and hybrid ship acted in perfect harmony, intercepting the Dominion, neutralizing their advance, and protecting the civilians and refugees scattered across the stars. Jackson watched as the battlefield unfolded like a living tapestry of courage and strategy. Every sacrifice, every maneuver, every life risked, it was all converging into one defining moment. And then, from the horizon, came a ripple that no one anticipated, a surge of pure, collective energy from the Council's allied species. The Eternals, witnessing the unity and determination, paused. Their incomprehensible consciousness seemed to observe, to analyze, to recognize. The realization struck humanity's leaders in unison: the Eternals weren't conquerors in the traditional sense. They were testers. And humanity, for the first time in their history, had passed. Jackson's voice was firm, resolute. Allied forces, hold formation. We do not attack further. Stand your ground and signal peace. Let them see who we are. Across the void, the Eternals shifted, their energy forms folding into themselves. The pulse of aggression receded, leaving a profound silence. The Dominion, recognizing the futility of further conflict, began a hasty retreat, limping back to territories they still controlled. Jackson exhaled, his shoulders sagging for the first time in days. Sarah stepped beside him, eyes reflecting the stars beyond. "We did it," she said softly. "No," Jackson replied. "We survived. But more than that, we led. We showed the galaxy that humanity isn't a resource, isn't a pawn. We're something greater. A guardian." Across Earth, celebrations erupted, but they were not mere parties. They were acknowledgments, a recognition that the small blue planet had become the galaxy's fulcrum. Humanity had faced judgment, enslavement, war, and cosmic trials. And through every trial, they had risen. President Rachel Monroe addressed the world via interstellar broadcast. Today, humanity has proven its worth not just to itself, but to every species that values freedom. We are no longer spectators in the galaxy. We are protectors. And together with our allies, we will ensure that the light of every civilization continues to shine. Jackson looked out at Earth from orbit, the oceans gleaming, the continents bathed in sunlight. "The Council saved us once," he said, voice quiet but resolute. "But it's up to us to protect what we've earned." Sarah smiled faintly, hand on the horizon's rail. "And we will." Every species that fought beside us knows now Earth is more than a planet.
It's a promise. And every promise is a responsibility.
In the distance, the stars stretched infinitely, a canvas of light and shadow. Humanity's fleets, once fragile and uncertain, now gleamed like constellations of defiance and hope.
And across the galaxy, every species whispered the same truth. The humans had survived. They had led.
And now, Earth would stand as a guardian not just of one species, but of the countless civilizations that had chosen freedom over fear. The vote that nearly enslaved humanity had instead forged a legend.
And in the vast, eternal darkness of space, humanity's light would never be forgotten.